welcome to On Wednesdays We Wear Black. I'm Yasmine Summan, and I'm here with Sophie K and the Connie from SeeYouSpaceCowboy. Connie, hi!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Tired, but good.
Real.
Yeah.
Before this, we were just talking about drinking whiskey in the morning, and I feel like I need that. Or, there's, Baileys and hot chocolate. That's quite nice.
Turning this into the alcohol podcast. So, Connie, first of all, right, and I don't want to sound too sycophantic, but Coup de Grace is one of the most exciting albums I have, I don't say this lightly, right? And your PR here will tell you, I get sent everything, so I get bored very, very easily at this point because I've been in this game way too long. It was exciting. It is so good.
Thank you.
It is like you've touched on everything that it means to be a rock fan, a heavy fan, a music fan in so many ways. How has the reception been so far?
Oh, it's been really good, and it's nice because we were kind of a little nervous. You know, when we were conceptualizing the album, we had the visual side of it planned out first, and then when it came to the music, we kind of did what we always do, which is oh, what do you like? Oh, you like indie dance rock, and you like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out? Cool, we're gonna add that to the metalcore thing and post-hardcore thing that we do. So when we were approaching it, it was very much throw everything into a blender again and hope it works. And I like what we came up with. I think it's the album that I wanted to make for sure through and through. So I'm glad that people have liked it as well.
I've seen the reception has been so positive, and as somebody who's been in the rock scene a while, I was just oh my god, this is giving me, at points it's giving me MySpace emo, then you're taking me to Dillinger Escape Plan, and it was and not to reference to other bands, but that's just how journalists do.
That's
right?
how we make music. I mean, every band nowadays is looking to some sort of band that exists currently or in the past to be that's what we're gonna take influence from.
So what were the influences that you went for?
So a lot of it was taking what we did on Romance, and then A Fever You Can't Sweat Out was a huge one by Panic at the Disco, and then Foles' first album was a huge one for us. Bands like Test Icicles were a huge one for us. Even taking from Block Party, Silent Alarm era Block Party, and bands like Emery, just figuring with Romance, we felt we had figured out where we want Cowboy to go next, and then it was just what else do we want to sprinkle in there to make a dancey, fun, sexy record, basically.
The intro, Allow Us to Set the Scene, is, it was cinematic, it was dramatic. I love the way that started. And it's interesting because you mentioned a lot of bands that I think here in the UK, a lot of people would have been quite snobby.
Set the alarm for when?
No. No, Siri. You butt out.
She's excited to be here. Hey?
Always has to stick in nose in. One of the things that happened in the UK, I noticed, is there was a real divide between what was classed as indie rock and emo and heavier music, and you had to pick a camp to be in. Did you have that in America as well?
I'm sure it existed, but for me growing up, as a teenager, I didn't know. So I would go see crust punk shows, I'd go see screamo shows, I'd go see hardcore beatdown shows, whatever, and going into this DIY hardcore punk thing, I still my first loves were Interpol, Block Party, The Bravery, all these indie rock bands. That's what I came up on. I think Antics by Interpol was the first CD I ever bought. Wow. So I didn't know that you were supposed to divide. I kind of divided myself mostly from metal. I had a lot of friends who were metal heads. They were super into black metal and stuff like that, and I'm no, I'm a punk, but I also like all these things, and so there was a divide, but I just didn't abide by it. I love trip hop. I love Massive Attack was one of my favorite bands. Growing up,
yes.
So yeah.
I love that, and it comes across. It really does come across in the music, and it's it was interesting as well seeing some of the features that you had on the album. So you had Kim Dracula, Nothing Nowhere, Courtney LaPlante, of course, one of our favourites. Who would you say is somebody that you didn't get on this album but you would like to work with in the future?
Ooh, that's a good question. We cooked with that.
That's a hard one. I think there was talks of getting one of the vocalists from like Blood Brothers on the record. We kind of discussed it amongst ourselves, but we never reached out. Ollie Sykes would be one that like I would love to do because like there's been like we've like talked and shit like that, but nothing's ever come about. So I would like love to like work with him.
What would you get him to do? Because I feel like you could either get him to do like the kind of newest stuff he's doing, or would you take him back to like old school?
A combination of both. Like why not? I think it'd be really fun to like not just have a feature, but to do like a full collab. Yeah, because like that's like my thing with like, features are fun. It's fun to just like be like, hey, we have this part, and like, would you do it with us? But like, after doing the collab with If I Die First, like that's kind of like my favorite kind of collab. Like even like the idea of like doing something like Ollie from Static Dress, or like Static Dress as a whole, because those are all our mates. Like we love them to death. It would be like, I like the idea of like doing little things like that rather than just like I'm gonna stick you on my record. Be like, no, we're gonna do something together, because that's way more fun and collaborative and an experience, in my eyes.
I feel like there's not enough of that these days. Like, I mean, I remember even King for a Day.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff where
My brain chemistry that song did. I feel like that just like was a moment where everyone came together. But I get what you mean. I feel like there isn't enough collaborative efforts in like this scene where people just come together and they cook collectively. You know what I mean? Like they're both in the same kitchen, throwing in the different spices, throwing in the different ingredients. I'd love to see it. I feel like you and Ollie from Static Dress would cook on a song.
I think it'd be really fun.
It would be super emo though.
Yes, it would be. I mean, like, and that's like the things, like those collaborative works, you also just like get closer as people. Like when we did the one with If I Die First, ages ago, 3 years ago, they all came to my apartment and we like stayed in my apartment and like worked on it together. So I love like experiences like that, because I feel like artist to artist, instead of just like doing it like just like, oh, we need you on the track because that's what people are gonna want. It's like, no, we're gonna work together to create something really fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's interesting because listening to you talk right now, I actually did an interview earlier on today about Green Day, and we were talking about punk and blah blah blah. And I feel like there's a new uprising of punk happening right now that is so exciting that I feel like we've lacked, because there was this kind of middle class, we like the music, but we don't stand behind the ethics punk that's happened for a long time. And now I feel like there's a real ethics coming back into the scene.
Yeah.
Are you feeling that?
I definitely feel that. I mean, especially like in San Diego, DIY is like coming back more and more. Because like for me in high school, I grew up volunteering and running the Che Cafe with the collective. So I'd like run shows. I'd get out of school and I'd go and run a show, and I'd get back at like 3 o'clock and I'd fall asleep and I'd go to school the next day. DIY was like everything to me. And like the ethics that came with that were everything to me, like being part of like a non-hierarchical collective and all that. I see it a lot with like this new generation of kids who are really into like even getting into it through TikTok. Like you'll see bands like playing a genre that like is long dead, but they're like 16-year-old kids, and they're all about just like finding a spot that will let them play a show. Might just be once the spot like has like one go and it's done, but they're all about that. And I feel like that's really cool to see, because I thought it was long gone after, watching like music, the ebb and flow, the rise and fall. But like in San Diego and in Southern California in general, it's back in like a big way to like go throw a show at a random warehouse. And it's like the most poppin' show you'll ever be to.
Yeah, I feel like they're getting more creative now. Like I love the whole like throwing a hardcore show in like a Denny's or something. Yeah. I feel like we need more of that in the UK, like throwing a hardcore show in like a McDonald's. I feel like that would kind of like, I feel like it would pop off personally. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. You're telling me if a band wasn't like, let's have a hardcore show at McDonald's, I'd be like, hell yeah, throw the fries, give me a hamburger while you're at it, man.
I just feel like the security guards in the UK are just a little bit too jobs-worthy.
Yeah, do you have security guards at your McDonald's in America? Because like that's the thing in the UK. Yeah, they have they have bouncers.
But I've noticed that there's way more of a culture of late night going and just kicking at McDonald's here, and in America that's like not a thing. You don't go to McDonald's.
It's part of the spirit. It's like if you're not in 24-hour McDonald's at like 3 a.m. drunk, you're not living.
Because we're drunks. We're a nation of drunks. It's an issue.
No, a lot of fast food places in the U.S. they close the inside after like 11 o'clock.
Right.
And they'll be like, you can't come in. You can only go through the drive-thru. So if a place says 24 hours, it means the drive-thru is 24 hours, not inside.
Interesting.
Smart. That's the way we need to have it over here. So one of the things I did want to ask you about, there's so many questions I want to ask you. It's my brain sometimes gets a bit flooded and I'm just buffering. One of the things I did want to ask you about is who you think is the nicest rock star, because we do this as an episode, so we like to ask everybody. And there's a lot of votes out there.
You're on our list, don't worry. You're high up on the list. But yeah, we do this series where we talk about the nicest rock stars, because there's so many, like, especially allies in the scene who like really ride for the both of us. But of all the rock stars you've either worked with or just have met, who is the nicest?
Are we talking like rock stars, or just like people in bands? Or are we
People in
talking
bands,
like okay, cool.
Rock star, no, people in
Yeah.
bands.
I'm trying to think, because like everybody's been, for the most part, has been really, really cool to us.
Obviously, because we're not Fest, we're going to say Corey Taylor.
Yeah. Corey Taylor.
So
Slipknot as well.
the whole of Slipknot, the whole of Slipknot.
Because it's so hard, because every single band like we've ever supported for, they're like super dope, super awesome. I feel like the band, like the biggest like headliner band that like I've like bonded with is like all the Silverstein guys.
Really?
Yes. So like when that was like one of the tours where it's like, even though they're like the headliner and we were opening for them, like we hung out, we like shot the shit, like we just like talking about like old screamo bands like from back in the day, because like the big thing was they covered an Orchid song. And they covered Destination Blood, so like I knew I had an in to be like, y'all like screamo. I know I'm a lot younger than you, but I also grew up loving screamo. Like what you experienced, I grew up worshiping.
Nice.
So like I think like Shane from like Silverstein would be like one of the people I had the most like fun with, and like you know in that like headliner to support band dynamic.
All right, Shane, you're on the list. You're in. One of the things as well that we talked about social media, and social media is a really interesting topic, because we have do you know what, Yasmine? I met someone the other day who was 12 and listened to this podcast. Can I just say, if you
listen to this podcast at 12, I've talking about my vagina so many times. Please, it's bad.
It's bad. Do not listen to this podcast if you are young, please.
Don't listen to anything we do. It's usually terrible advice.
We need those parents that are like, that made the stickers go on the CD covers. You know, the ones that were like
guidance, the 18 plus stickers. Yeah, we need one of them.
Anyway, we do have a lot of people who are coming up in the scene and just discovering the scene, and they often ask us for advice, because it's quite scary getting into this industry, isn't it? It's like just existing in yourself as somebody who's alternative can be quite a big deal for a lot of our listeners. What would your advice be? Because a lot of them get like, what are you dressing like that for?
See, it's hard, because if like speaking about like queerness, I grew up in an era where like if somebody was, you know, saying some things to you, being discriminatory towards you, I would just fight them. You know, it'd be like, okay, we're gonna fist fight in the street right here then. I know that not everybody's willing to do that. So like the general advice is just find your community. Community is super important.
Yeah.
That's like, there's always strength in numbers. And just to like realize that like if you are queer or just like in an alternative culture or whatever, or like a person of color, like you're just gonna have to like find some confidence within yourself and like be willing to like stand on that and don't waver. Like just realize that you're gonna be challenged, you know, maybe on a daily basis, maybe on a weekly basis, maybe on a monthly basis. It depends on where you are, whatever. But just like you're gonna have to like stand resolute in who you are, what you believe in, and what you want to be.
That is what, like the thing you said just then, right? This is the thing to all my past therapists. You're crap, right? And you should have taught me that. You see how that happened in a few minutes. Basically, standing in what you believe in is so important. If someone's trying to challenge you and someone's trying to say you're this, you're that, you're this, just going, I am me, and just sticking with that is the hardest lesson in life, isn't it? But it works.
Absolutely.
I also feel like there's a lot of unity with it. Not to be that person who's like, peace and love, but I feel like there's so much unity within being the outcasts of the outcast, because if you are queer and brown, also alternative, like, you can bond with people over that. Like, there's that running joke of, like, when you see the only other brown person at a show and you're like, hey, or you see the other queer person at a show and you're like, hey, and it's like, you have that unspoken bond, even though you've never met this person. You feel like, if anything were to happen to them, I would throw hands for them personally. Yeah. I don't even know you, but I would throw hands for you. Even you, Sophie.
I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, it's also, it's very important, like, as, like, a person within the community to do that. Like, even, like, I don't know, I'm bad. I literally got in a fight at a show in my 7 days off between the tours. Not because of, like, some, like, minority stuff, but just because somebody was fucking pressing my friend. So I just...
You're so real for
threw
that.
hands, because that's my homie, you know? Yeah. So I know that I'm very much a confrontational, like, will fight person. But, like, unity is really important, because then, if you stand in numbers, you might not have to fight. If you're the kind of person who's like, I don't know if I can stand up for myself, or I'm willing to, like, be confrontational physically or verbally myself, if you find your community, there will be people who will do it for you.
Do you know what's, because I'm one of those people who the way I can give shit to people. I used to do this thing, right? This is my technique. When people would start on my friends, I would just slowly look at that person and take my earrings out. And then that other person would shit themselves, right? Because, black girl's taking their earrings out. But I can't fight. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. So I would just do it like I was crazy. And then, that was my technique.
You were just hoping they wouldn't.
I was like, please.
Like, I'm going to put back in now anyway.
Please don't come for me. It's interesting as well that you talk about being so strong, because even like me at my age, I see you as an inspiration, and I love seeing artists that I'm like, wow, yes, get it, because you're giving me inspiration to be more myself. And I find that, okay, real talk here. Mm-hmm. I felt like when Black Lives Matter happened, there was so much pressure put on me, because everyone went,
Yep.
You're the only one in the crowd. Okay. And I was like, and everyone's just expecting me to be the voice for everybody. And even though I stand strong in my opinions, it felt like a lot of pressure, and it actually felt quite hard. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to speak for every black person. I didn't feel ready to do that. How do you feel being somebody that I feel everybody asks you about being trans? Everyone wants you to speak about it. And I feel like that is something so, like, it's a personal thing as well. And it's not for people just bowl it out and go, so, how is it being trans?
Yep.
And I've seen it, and it makes me go, what are you doing? It makes me ick.
It's always interesting when you, like, because, like, so I actually, like, had a really conscious, like, session of thinking about this when Cowboy first started getting offers from labels. Because I'm like, okay, that means I'm going to be put on a platform. The only trans woman in, like, heavy music put on a platform at the time. It's weird for me. I don't mind talking about it, but it's weird for me when people want me to speak for the entire trans community, because I feel very disconnected from the rest of the trans community in ways that, like, I'm not... you have, like, your, like, archetypes of, like, that. You have, like, your, like, Steven Universe soft queers. You have, like, your hyper feminine, like, trans women who just want to pass. And then there's me just being a tomboy way over there. Yeah. I, like, don't agree with a lot of trans people. I don't, like, it's, like, I'm, like, very much, like, an outsider even within that community. Like, not, So it's always been strange for me to being asked to speak for the entire trans community. Because I'm, like, I'm so... different than the norm of, like, what you see on, like, Twitter or out and about, or even when it comes to, like, the queer community in general. It feels weird, because I know, like, I have, like, the general talking points I can hit, and I should always hit. It's like, respect this, blah blah blah, that, da 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 da. But, like, if you wanted to, like, ask, like, my actual, like, feelings on, like, being a trans woman and, like, my actual reality, it's far different than the majority of, like, trans people.
Yeah, I feel like, because this is a safe space, I'm a talk as a non-binary person. I feel like when I was coming up in the industry, like, 4 years ago, it was around the time that, like, there was a lot of hype around, like, pushing diversity, and everybody turned to me to be like, you're brown and queer. Like, you're the double whammy, speak on this. And I was like 21 at the time going, I don't know what the fuck to say for the entire trans community. And I fucked up. I said things wrong. Like, I've accidentally misgendered people on Twitter. I feel like I accidentally misgendered you once on Twitter and then went, oh, wait. But then it wasn't done in malice. It was like, oh, I didn't, like, but I feel like I get what you mean when you talk about, like, not aligning with all trans people. And I think when you're online, people almost expect you to be this spokesperson. And when you don't have opinions that align with what people think a good spokesperson, a good, you know, little queer ally should be, then they rip you apart. And it's like, we want queer liberation, but only if it fits a certain box. And I imagine as, like, someone who's a front woman for a band, it must be hard to, like, have to go on stage every night and be like, hey guys, so I'm not gonna talk about being trans, I'm just gonna do my own thing as well, but I am trans, but I also just want to make some music and vibe. Can you guys vibe with me?
I mean, exactly. It's like that, and it's almost becomes a little bit more, like, difficult even as trans people start to enter the framework, because, like, people want to be like, oh, why aren't you like Dylan Mulvaney? And I'm like, well, because I'm fucking not. Because I'm me. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, we went to the same high school. We grew up in the same place, but I grew up in hardcore.
Yeah.
You know, she grew up somewhere else. You know, my experiences and, like, what I am about is so different than, like, everybody else. So even, like, I'll, like, have, like, takes on Twitter that even trans people will get mad at me about, and I'm like, I don't fucking care. Because, like, I'm not supposed to be just like you just because we're, you know, and we're not supposed to be friends just because we're both trans women. That's not how this fucking works. Like, I like my group of friends, you know. I don't fucking need to be part of your little clique because we're both transitioning. Doesn't fucking matter to me.
What takes do people come to?
It's just, like, things like that. I think, like, a lot of the queer community is soft as fuck and, like, not willing to stand up for themselves and not willing to fight, and, like, and I might just have been, like, the way I grew up, like, growing from, like, being, like, a skate rat punk kid to that, whereas, like, you know, everyone's got a different upbringing, but, like, I never lost that. I never stopped skating. I didn't stop, like, doing me. I didn't stop going to hardcore shows. I was me throughout. Even when I transitioned, I didn't become a new person. I'm just like me, but a woman. That's it.
It's a hard concept for people to grasp.
It
it's
is.
Like, when you're a trans person, it's not who you are. It's just a part of that existing identity. Like, not all non-binary people are called Mars, and we don't like Steven Universe. Like, crazy thought. I just like drinking tequila on the weekend with Red Bull.
It was like, believe it or not, the skating, going to punk shows, all that shit, I did it because I loved it, not because I felt like I had to fit in. Like, I did it because that was my life. So when I came out, there might have been, like, a short period where I started trying to wear dresses and get all pretty and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, this isn't me. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do what I want to do.
I love that.
I love that.
That's so us.
This is words to live by. Like, literally.
It's the opposite for me, where people are like, oh, but you're non-binary, so, like, why do you still feminize yourself? And it's like, well, I don't privately. Like, I feel like when I'm online and I'm Yasmine, so even online, I have to be, like, the person that I, like, pretend and, like, dress up to be. But, like, in my casual life, I just dress however the fuck I want, because also you can't really put being trans to clothing. That's, like, a whole other thing. But, like, because I'm not, like, those stereotypical, like, pixie cut non-binary people are like, yeah, but you're not really non-binary. And I'm like, okay, damn, that's crazy.
That's literally what non-binary is for.
That's crazy, man.
What do you mean?
I got the past taken away from me so quickly. They just snatched it out of my hands. What the hell?
It's such a vulnerable thing to share, though, and I just want to say thank you, because I know it's your life. It probably doesn't feel vulnerable. It's just like, this is who I am. Yeah. But I think that's what you do so well in your lyrics, in your life, in your interviews, and that's why you become an inspiration. Yeah. It's why people like Chester Bennington became an inspiration, because you share so openly. You're just like, here I am. Yeah. There we go. It's laid out.
I'll tell you everything. I don't really care. I mean, this band is for catharsis, so I'm going to talk about everything. It's like, even like going back to like what you were saying before, it's like, oh, like most, like growing up, most trans people and like queer communities and blah 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 and DIY were like, oh, you can't mosh, you can't crowd kill, you can't do this, you can't listen to hardcore because that's tough guy music. Where it's like, literally, I'm in a brace because I was just moshing a few days ago because I fucking love breakdowns, and that's what I'm gonna do no matter what. And I punched someone in the face and my wrist is fucked now, but I'm gonna do it again tonight.
No, I'm the worst for crowd surfing. I'll be like, I'm just gonna have a chill one tonight, and then you'll just see me stage dive for the first band, and I'm like, whoops.
I'll be at the back.
Yeah, it's like, no, I like beat down hardcore. Yeah. I like metalcore. I like breakdowns, so I'm going to mosh and crowd kill because that's what you do to that music.
Yeah.
And I don't care if like a bunch of like, like people who live on like Twitter or like, like these little cliques of like the soft queers want to be like, oh, you shouldn't do that, it's violent like this. I'm like, no, this is a hardcore show, it's what you do.
Yeah.
It's always been this way, and like this is what the majority of people want to do here, so it shouldn't stop just because you like the music. Just stand on the fucking back.
That's me. I'll be stood at the back.
Or stand on the side, like
yeah.
couple rows back. It's like you're not gonna get hit if you're just like there's a few like 3 people as a human shield in front of you.
That's facts. One of the things as well that I did want to ask you about, and it really broke my heart that you saw so many negative comments on a podcast that you were on. I'm not going to name that here because we're not blaming anybody. So many negative comments that it had a massive impact on your mental health.
Yeah.
And you post about that on your stories. What do you wish people understood?
I think I wish people understood that like even if you have this mentality of like and like this is like I guess just good in general. It's like even if you have this like mentality of like I'm gonna do me regardless and you keep charging forward, everybody has like some sort of like breaking point where it starts to get to you.
Yeah.
It's impossible to stand strong and resolute like forever. It's okay to have like moments of like weakness and this and that. And, like it's okay to lose a fight every once in a while. It's like it's okay to not always be this like body of stone that's immovable. Because like even the strongest people will like have to like have a point where they've been holding their breath for years, like standing strong. You have to like take that breath. You have to exhale eventually. Yeah. And like, it's okay when it happens because it's like it's just a natural thing. And like what you do is you just take another breath.
Yeah.
Do you know what I wish people understood? Something that for me I feel quite strongly about when I see people calling alternative music a community. That's like the thing, right? It's a community, it's a community, it's a community. When I see people attacking a member of our community, which is already, we're already a small community, like if someone is there to talk about music, I don't care what colour their skin is, I don't care who they're sleeping with, I don't care what's in their underwear. Yeah. Like, they're part of the community. And I think as an alternative community, we need to remember that and accept that and go back to when back in the day when you went to the punk clubs and it was no racists, no homophobes, it was like there was a list. Yeah. And I feel like we've lost that a little bit, and then we still call it a community. And it's like if you're online ragging on somebody, you're not part of the community. End.
Yeah. There's like 2 sides of this. Like there's a huge movement of acceptance within hardcore. Like within the hardcore genre itself, going to shows and blah blah. Like I've never had a problem.
Yeah, hardcore's amazing.
Yeah. There, it's just there's like other scenes that have yet to catch up, or it's still, or this culture around like being edgy and being canceled that like follows like prominent figures who like champion that as like their thing, and like that's kind of like growing more and more. But, like, I don't know, dude. It's, like, so just, like, soft and, like, so antithetical to, like, what they claim to stand by to just make your entire personality about getting outraged from other people. It's, like...
And then getting angry.
Yeah, and then getting angry about yourself. Start suing people and shit like that. It's, like, I don't fucking know. It reads as... It's, like, such a flip. It's, like, okay, cool. Your whole thing was, like, oh, I don't care. You're soft, blah, blah. But then now it's, like... No, you're fucking soft. Exactly. So realistically, we're all just fucking pussies who are crying about something. Yeah. And it's just literally like, you are us and we are you. I don't know why anybody tries to like act like they're harder than the others. Like you're all just fucking complaining regardless. Who cares?
And if they do want to say anything, come and say it to your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you'll throw hands. Don't come and say it to my face because I'm really scared.
I feel like small people have so much anger because we're closer to hell. Like you're really tall, so you're like up there in the heavens. But I'm like, I will do somebody if they look at me the wrong way. I'm not
my TM in the States, Jess from World of Pleasure. Shout out Jess.
I love World of Pleasure.
She calls me her Chihuahua.
Oh,
So I'm
I have a
small
chihuahua,
and
so I don't.
full of rage.
Oh my gosh, you do
Never
have
mess with a chihuahua.
No, chihuahuas scare me.
And yeah, they're a whole vibe.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like this thing where it's like everybody's complaining about something.
Yeah.
It's like, who fucking cares? Just like if people want to be like, oh, I'm just edgy and like you can't cancel me, it's like, cool, go exist like over there in your own little islands and like stop fucking trying to like get a rise out of people. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Just do your thing. It's like, if you really want to exist in that space, exist over there, and we'll exist
100%.
over here, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to prove that I'm right to you. You don't need to prove that you're right to me. Who gives a fuck? We're never going to see eye to eye. Just go over there. I'll stay over here.
I'm like, we're never going to agree, so you just do your own thing, I'll do my
Yeah.
thing. But then they're very passionate about being like, but you're wrong for doing your thing, and you need to listen to my opinion. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
I mean, that's literally me when it comes to like policing language, policing this, policing that. I don't care anymore. I used to when I was younger, like when I was like teenager and DIY. I'm like, you have to believe this. You can't say this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't fucking care anymore. Like, I'm not going to police you. I'm going to live my life. I'll tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't say this. This is why. But if you don't want to listen, like, fine. Like, exist in your world. I'll exist in mine. Like, I just want to, like, be, unless it's like something truly egregious, in which case it's like, okay, like, yeah, fighting words, let's go. But like, for the most part, it's just like, there's no reason why your life would have to revolve around complaining. And that's for both sides. For people over there and for like my own like queer people, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to exist, you don't need to make your entire life just complaining about oppression and this and that. Just like, live. Do your thing.
100%.
Exist.
Yeah.
Experience.
Yes.
You don't need to just complain on Twitter 24/7 about something. Just like, do your thing.
Touch grass.
Yeah,
is
go
what we
touch
said.
grass. Go touch fucking grass. Go get laid. Do something fun. Holy fuck! Like you're not getting any younger. You're getting fucking older.
Yeah.
Do something.
That's it.
It's like saying you touch grass is ableist, and I'm like, that's crazy.
I don't give a shit.
I'm gonna go grab some planes of grass right now
Hang on, how is that ableist?
because some people can't touch grass.
You can touch with your face.
I know. So do you think these people care?
Okay.
That's like, I mean, Cowboy used to be in a very like DIY PC area, and I quickly became so disillusioned that I literally the first 7-inch EP we ever did was a sneak diss at everything in the far left community that I didn't like. Wow. About how the people who are the most vocal are usually the snakes who are fucking abusers and fucks and how and how like I hate how like a scene revolved so heavily around just like the most microaggression bullshit that didn't really matter. It's like there are so many more prominent things in life to care about, including outside of just politics and like our community. Your fucking self. You. Give a fuck about you and the life that you live.
Like, baby, put yourself in therapy first before you start yelling at
Yeah,
other people. That's
exactly.
not bad.
When are you going to start motivational speaking outside of the band? Like, this needs to be, I need to see this on, like,
Inspired right now. This is like therapy.
Henry Rollins, like, that's what I want to see.
I mean, hey, if that was the trajectory of my life, that I'm just going to start acting at movies and doing stand-up and writing books, like, I'll take that. I already dipped my toes into fashion. I'll do that next.
Oh, I can't
So
wait.
tell us about the fashion.
Okay. So I've like always had a love for like fashion. I've always like that was always like one of the things I was toying around with in high school because I'm not a musician. This is the thing people don't understand. I'm not a musician. I don't know a single fucking chord. I've just been screaming my whole life and somehow it's gotten me here. But I always love visual art. Always love fashion. And you know, when it came to like this record cycle, I made that like splatter heart button down shirt I wore in the press and stuff like that. And I kind of just thought to myself, that would make a really good merch item. And so I started like hand painting them and selling them. And it kind of just exploded into like this thing where I quadrupled the amount I thought I was going to sell. And it's still going. So like it's kind of become this thing that's motivated me to be like, I'm going to start making other merch items. Maybe I'll make a crop top with a splatter heart on it. Maybe I'll like do this. Maybe I'll do like a fucking comrade hat. Like it's kind of like become this thing that I've really like fixated on as like something that I really want to do because it's something I always wanted to do with like screen printing and stuff. But now I have like the outlet and like a following and like access to other like fashion designers and stuff like that too, like collab with. So it's something that I'm really motivated right now because like the two things that I do outside of the band are I'm a creative director. So I do like design work for bands and I create their entire aesthetics for records, and it's basically what I did for Cowboy.
What, like, fashion clothes or just...
Yeah, I mean, it could be clothes, album artwork, writing treatments for music videos. So I did everything for Cowboy. Like I orchestrated all the artists. I worked very closely with the director. I like did everything. I like helped. I basically created the aesthetic of like Coup de Grace. Because that's like what I love most. I love visual shit. So it just kind of is translated over to fashion now.
I feel like a lot of people in alternative music as well, like they have that like ability to adapt and like want to do loads of different things as well, especially like coming up in DIY and hardcore. Like you have to do everything yourself, so like you get used to doing everything.
I literally started doing album covers for bands because I did my own, and then people started hitting me up being like, I really like this album cover, do this. And it evolved into like doing album covers, then doing vinyl packaging as well, and CD packaging, and then tying in merch, and then it moved on to like writing treatments for music videos. So it kind of just was like, oh well, like I'm just gonna stop saying I'm a designer and just say I'm a creative director. I will create the aesthetic. I'll give you your colors. I'll give you your opposing colors. You want cool with one warm tone? Got you. I'll write your treatments. I'll do everything for you. And like that's like the job I have outside of Cowboy, and I love it.
Do you know what? I knew it would be a fun interview today. I knew it'd be great to chat to you, and I knew it would be inspirational. But I think, much like with the album, I knew I was expecting something good, but it took me to the next level and blew my mind. It's the same with chatting to you today. I knew you'd be inspirational, but you're a very special person, and I think...
Thank you.
I can't wait to watch more interviews with you, see where you're going, because I feel like you've got so much coming up in the future. Like, you're going to do so many amazing things.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Are you the new singer for Linkin Park?
No. It's not me. Sorry.
We've asked so many people this. Do you think someone's lied to us?
No. Somebody's definitely lying to you.
Yeah, we've asked a lot of people.
If I could... It would be more believable if I could actually sing, but I just wail and I scream, and that's it.
At the end of every podcast episode, we do a words of wisdom. Sophie, what are your words of wisdom?
My words of wisdom are probably the thing that I've taken away from this interview the most, which is remembering to be yourself, and when people try and challenge you, stand by who you are. So that's what I've taken away. And it's not even my words of wisdom, I've just stolen yours, but there we go, that's how it works.
I'll take credit anyway. Mine is probably that queer people don't all come in one flavour. We are all different. We are all on our own like spectrum, rainbow, whatever you want to call it, and we don't all fit into one box. So like queer expression can be queer joy, it can also be queer anger, it can be queer punching the shit out of someone if they're being a transphobe, or queer just chilling and vibing. Queer chill.
Yeah.
That's what I am. I'm queer chill.
Queer chill.
Yeah.
For today.
Oh, yeah, gosh. Anything can set me off.
What would be your words of wisdom for today? It can be about anything. It can be like, the UK needs to get aircon.
That
The UK needs
yes,
to get aircon.
that. But I don't want to be the American that just comes over here and complains, because I love being in the UK and I love fucking traveling. My life's an adventure and I love it. But I guess my words of wisdom would be like, yeah, like just... There is no bubble that you have to fit into, and those bubbles don't always necessarily mean safety. I know that there's this idea that community is this, and you have to do this, and I hate that, and I think that like I look at like AJ, you know, AJ's gold star gay, but like he's not flamboyant. You look at him and you would never know. You wouldn't be able to tell by the way he acts. He doesn't do this or that. And I think that like when you're, you know, in these communities, just be yourself still. Don't conform, because like what's the point of being non-conformist but then conforming with some idea of non-conformity? It makes no sense.
We're gay.
Just fucking be yourself. Like, that's enough. Like just you've earned the right to then just be yourself. You don't have to fight for the right to exist and like fight every avenue that wants to come at you, and then just be like, oh, but I'm too tired to fight to like stand out in the queer scene.
Yeah.
You know, don't fucking do that. Just be yourself.
Facts, and that goes with everything. I've been called a traitor to my race before, which is quite an offensive thing to say.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Community.
I've been called a traitor.
Oh, I've definitely been called a traitor to the trans community
What's up, guys?
before.
Traitors to the trans community podcast. No, but that was really
Okay,
good.
thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure.
Have an amazing show.
Thank you.
What do we need to look forward to? Any new things that people need to? Where can we get your merch? Like plug anything?
I mean, Coup de Grace just came out a few months ago, and we're gonna be touring quite a bit, because we never fucking stop. It's just no rest for the wicked. So just keep an eye out, and we'll be around probably more times than you want us to be.
Nice. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.